The TNT gang had just came back from their hideout, and they made their way into the gymnasium. Well, Annie was the first to exit out of the building to watch for enemies, while Marie, Takio, Maurice all waited inside. They soon got panicked signal from her, stating that some mysterious kids were spotted. They're coming! They're coming! Annie exclaimed in through the transmitter. All the others cocked their weapons and headed out. What they saw coming for them was a situation was far worse than nerve-wracking person that they had fought. There's gotta be thousands of them coming after us. Maurice's eyes widened while the four of them surrounded them from above by flying ships. Millions even, Tekio gulped. We got this, team. Remember, for our young chaps that are in need. Marie smiled bravely, even though through the heart pounding furiously. She's still in smidgen of confidence within her. Indeed, Marie. Let's fight and we'll never forget, Marie said with a determined smirk. As Nigel and 9L flew into Earth's atmosphere, Nigel could feel his heartbeat racing with excitement. His first battle was as a galactic operative. This was going to be good. 74.239 and number infinity, followed by three other kids. Number negative umptree, original, normal at all, followed by behind. Millions upon millions of galactic children created a threatening formations with their shuttles in the sky, headed towards a crowd of their other kids. Number negative, of armed kids. But of course, the operatives' final warning immediately prepare themselves. The shuttles landed, and the two crowds of kids stared at each other down in very brief moment, a nearby dead silence. Kids next door, Abigail glared. Galactic kids next door, Nigel shouted. Battle stations! As it all started, all hell broke loose as battle cries filled the air and weapons fired away. 2x4 aircrafts flew into the skies and occupants fired gumballs, mustered streams of pop, and even flamethrowers in about every direction they could. Onlookers panicked, and the combat ensued, frantically getting into their homes and taking shelter from the storming deadly war. Nigel looked down at them. You see, adults, don't number one just look at them. Remember what we've taught you. You know what to do, Number Infinity smirked, as Nigel nodded. They all swooped down towards the households. Number 9L used the dagger on her tails to slash through the houses in pieces, causing the people inside to ultimately freak out and evacuated as the other 5 operatives destroyed the buildings further, laughing triumphantly as they soared back into the skies. Good work, girl, Nigel said, gently patting 9L's head. Just then, Hoagie's cool bus then spied on and began to circle around the two. Hoagie then looked out the window to see his old buddy. He didn't feel the same way he normally would have been at the other time. He was somewhat terrified. Perhaps even a tad angry for some reason he couldn't explain. Tears blurred Hoagie's vision as he and Nigel looked and locked eyes for the first time in so long. He could see the pure hatred in Nigel's eyes, and completely unreal to him. They pulled out of their armaments, and Hoagie then tried his best to make the first attack, but he could not do it. He felt so weak and confused, emotionally, physically, and mentally. It was too much for the poor boy to bear, seeing his former leader and his best friend like this. Nigel, please, you don't need to do this, Hoagie meekly choked out as best he could. Nigel, of course, wouldn't listen to somebody remotely defending the adults, as he was trained to hate them, trained a little too much. Number 9L lifted her huge dagger and sliced the flying bus in clean like half like a kitchen knife through an apple. Abigail saw Hoagie plummeting to the ground and quickly took action. The plane she was abruptly zoomed towards Hoagie, grabbing his arm and pulling him aboard. Heavy sobs hook Hoagie's frame like an earthquake, as tears poured down from his cheeks once more, and even more than the Lime Ricky's incident a while ago. Hey now, number 2, what's going on? Abigail cooed. I can't do this. I feel so weak, Hoagie cried, taking off his shades and trying to dry his eyes. You're still a little upset about the soda bar incident, are you? It's just that. I can't stand to see Nigel so different than what he used to be. He was one of my closest friends, and now it's like he doesn't even know each other anymore. Hoagie started brawling again and shouted in a fit of anxiety and panic, "Please, number 5, please hold me and tell me this isn't real." Abigail then hushed him and hugged him close, but he couldn't stop his emotions now. After what seemed like hours, Hoagie finally slowly calmed down, Abigail sympathetically frowning at his pet hair. "I'm sorry, number 5. I got a little carried away, didn't I?" Hoagie sniffled, still shaking intensely from a panic attack. "You do what you gotta do, number 2, but we gotta do now is be ourselves, right?" Hoagie nodded to this. This is for Abigail to give him a kiss on the side of the cheek. "I think you're doing just fine. We might have been just pushed at this point for some time, or never, trust me." Hoagie then blushed a little brightly and then gave a weak giggle. "Thank you." Many undercover teenage operatives across Earth was now banded together, mostly in places teenagers usually hung out, so they wouldn't investigate any suspicion. They had courageously fought hundreds upon thousands of those pesky space children with every single ounce of their might. For almost 2 whole days, especially Maurice and his main gang, who had arranged a particular part of the war themselves. And boy, they did feel proud for getting their part in the mad dash to stop their planet's demise. Finally, Maurice spoke between breaths. Slugging the very alien came out of her way. "Plan B has gotten to work." "I'm saying," Maurice replied back, "I believe that this has worked pretty well so far, and I am very proud of you guys." The other 3 smiled back. "Anytime, Maurice. We wouldn't have got this far without your help." Marie picked up a pole with the boxing gloves on both ends and twirled it in a circle, smacking several aliens with it and knocking them out. The sun was setting now, and the more aliens were defeated. They kept going, and the kids next door were exhausted. They must have been for a while now. Some operatives were even starting to kneel down on the ground, giving space to kids more of a chance to overpower the Earth kids. Hoagie and Abigail, who were so quite bandaged, they sat in the stationary plane, trying to hide while taking a break from the mayhem, as well as give Hoagie a little bit of a breather. "Zeesh, we are gonna really get creamed now," Hoagie said, quietly muttered, twiddling his fingers nervously. "It may seem like they might need our help." "It's gonna be alright, Hoagie. We'll get back out there as soon as enough," Abigail said, trying to calm him down, but to no avail. In a sudden boost of courage, Hoagie stood up and rushed right to the cockpit of the aircraft, where they were sitting, and reloaded the built-in musket guns. "Number 2, what are you doing?" Hoagie then looked back at Abigail. "You gotta do what you gotta do. Now buckle up, because we're going all downtown on these galactic twerps." And with that, Hoagie quickly pulled on his friend into the cockpit with him and revived the engines. Once they took off at the high speed of light, Hoagie went berserk and proceeded to fire all the animal the plane could muster in all directions. Some even struck Nigel and his aliens. Soon the aliens were hit with flesh, but not mustered as they were shortly called to fret a new retreat to the mothership. So with the first battle had already come to a conclusion, all the children around had begun cheering and whooping, as well as the teens and their bystanders. After a long couple of days of combat peril, the Earthlings just claimed their first victory. "I'm proud of you, Hoagie. You imagined your face your angst, and you did good." Abigail patted her chubby friend on the back, causing him to chuckle a bit. "It was nothing. Come on, team. Let's go home." And with that, Sector 5, alongside with everyone else, vacated and destroyed, sends the scene to get finally somewhere to well-deserved shut-eye. Annie, Marie, Keiko, and Maurice were laughing in a victorious way as they can too, making their way home. "Yeah, that was exquisite, was it not?" "Oh, it was. All right. We were pretty good. I'll admit, though, Maurice's dedication to his expedition, that really made it successful," Maurice said, as Maurice laughed sheepishly. "You guys are awesome for the past couple days. I wouldn't have done this without you," he said, as they all high-fived one another. "But remember, where there's even one wave of space kids, there will always be more. There are billions more of them out there, just waiting for us." "We got you." Marie gave a quick salute as the 4 headed home for bedtime. They won this battle, and they had yet to ready themselves for a long, grueling war. Back in the mothership, a tired Nigel had been in a meeting for supposedly his teammates. You see, number one, we were quite proud of your efforts in the first battle. Well, thank you, Y. However, the issue is, we still lost trying to get past all those Earth kids to get to most adults, the first teammate stated. We must step up to our game and outnumber those kids, a second teammate said, with a very screechy voice. I'll believe that'll be equate easy peasy. After all, there are 6 billion of us and approximately 2.2 billion of those brats down on Earth. We won't need much effort in taking care of them. A third teammate then chimed in, chuckling. Nigel felt a little bit of wave of confidence rush into him, and he nodded. That's the spirit. We shall start fresh soon enough. But for now, you must get some sleep, Nigel, for this is only the beginning of the war. Sweet dreams. The platform Nigel stood upon lowered his back into some place as Nigel finally got to go lay in his bed for the first time in over 48 hours. As he lay there, looking up at the house above, his thoughts and feelings about this past situation bounced back and forth like a wildest mood swings no one could ever have. But, of course, he especially thought about the look on Hoagie's face as they looked at each other eye to eye that day. He looked completely and utterly terrified when he looked at Nigel. At this point, Nigel was in a mixture of confused and guilty. He was simply just trying to get past them, so he could try to save Earth from the adults, or at least what he could do from his interdiction. Nigel sighed in frustration and brushed it off slowly, and then he went to sleep. Carla had laid under the blankets of her bed yet again, chatting texts with Cree. See, Lincoln? I told you they were coming for us. She sent pictures of the Galactic operatives and kids next door battling. Yes, Carla, you were right this whole time, Cree responded, with a habit of mundane attitude, as they must have been having this conversation for a while now. There must be at least a couple billions of them out there, I heard. Yeah, and they really did put up a fight against everyone. My parents and I had to evacuate our house and check into a motel because this giant alien cat came and chopped off our roof. We are still staying there until this whole thing blows over. Then we can get our home reconstructed, Cree explained. Good grief, that's crazy. I hope you're doing alright. I guess. We just got off in a video chat with my brother Leon. He says that the doctors are giving him some prosthetic, and he's doing better now. Well, I'm glad your brother's recovering. That sounded very awful. Anyway, I've been thinking. Carla searched for her phone for a few seconds, then took a screen cap of the research result, then went back to the messages and sent Cree a picture. You see, there were only 2.2 billion kids on the planet, and there was around 300 million to 4 billion entered the planet place, at least to North America regions, meaning there's certainly more around the entire world, perhaps more than all kids combined. I'm low-key and habitat-opspetic, Carla analyzed. True, it might take a miracle at some point for things to get too harsh, Cree responded, but another part of me feels that there is possible hope. I don't know. Something tells me that a certain miracle might just happen in the near future. Carla paused for a moment, then walked into the closet and rummaged through it. Finding her helmet that she wore during the times as Kids Next Door operative, sitting back down on her bed, she got a good look at that helmet covered in dust, and the number 79 was still intact. Yep, it might just happen, she spoke to herself, then she got back under the blankets. Sweet dreams, Cree Bear. Nighty-night.